Hello everybody, here we are today talking about Alexis Lafreniere, the fact that he signed a 7-year contract extension with the New York Rangers. Just getting into what are my thoughts on this deal. So before we get started with it, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So on Friday, the Rangers decided to pull the trigger on a long-term extension with Lafreniere, and it feels like a no-brainer in a lot of ways, and this is just kind of a fun storyline as well, mainly because you have a guy that was taken first overall in the 2020 draft in the Big Apple, and he's here to stay, and he is one of those players you can say, well, what exactly has he done since he's arrived in the league? Well, one thing you can point out is the fact that he is third in his draft class for points, and I know that may seem a little bit weird considering he was taken first overall, but the guys that are above him, specifically Tim Stützle, is certainly a player that's seen success in the NHL, but Lafreniere has had that success for himself as well too. He had a career year last season for goals, assists, and points, and was flirting with a 60-point season. And this year, he seems to be taking another leap forward, as it seems like many young players are certainly taking that next step in elevating their game this year, averaging about a point per game. I know it's still very early in the season, but it's very encouraging for a lot of these teams to see those young stars possibly emerging to become the next big thing for their franchise. With it kind of being brought up, what exactly are my thoughts on the contract? I'm going to be honest here. I think it's a pretty good deal. You look at the fact that he is a young player that is on a team that is looking to contend. They were able to get him to a 7-year extension through his prime on a cheap contract. You got to factor in too with the rising salary cap. This isn't going to be that big of a problem. And I've talked about it before with the Rangers. They're a good team, and they do have some guys that are younger that are still going to play a big role for this team going forward, but they also can be pretty reliant on those big name players that are in their early to mid 30s to kind of make that big push. So to have one of those younger guys that is able to say he's not even in his mid 20s just yet, as he's 23, to be there to take that next step possibly is going to be great. And also you have to factor in too, they just got a guy through the early parts of his prime for less than $7.5 million a season. So looking at all that, you can see you're pretty happy with how things are going if you are the Blue Shirts. And we can keep adding on to this too when you look at the fact that he had 26 even strength goals last year, which ranked 18th in the league. For a team like New York that at times has struggled at 5-on-5 and even strength, this is good to have a player that's reliably been close to 20 goals or more at even strength over the years. And then last year too, you look at the playoffs that he had. He had 14 points in 16 games played. A very simple stat to look at, but it wasn't like he had a 5-point night that kind of boosted those numbers. It was a lot of 1-point nights, or a night where he maybe had 2 goals or something like that. To average nearly a point per game in the playoffs at 22 years old at the time, I think he was 22 years old. That's great, especially for a team that's going to the Eastern Conference Final. And this player is one that I think has really got more room to grow. He has seen an increase in production with increased minutes every year, and it kind of goes hand in hand, which is always fun to see. It doesn't always correlate into that. I know sometimes, again, you're kind of looking at minutes and stats and saying, how true is it? But every single season that his minutes have gone up, so have his points. And again, maybe one day we can kind of take a deeper dive into all this, but I do think these are all positive signs. I think some people could probably point at this, though, and say they're a little bit worried. Is he going to be that star player? Again, are we going to see him become that top overall pick or worthy of that draft pick, draft selection, if you will? I don't know, but I do know this at this stage right now. He nearly had 60 points last year in the NHL at 22 years old. That's impressive. He is a guy that could go out there and set another career high, again, another positive. And I know that people are probably worried about what is life going to be for him after Trocheck or Panarin leave, retire, or go on, or just a lot of these line mates are going that are really good. That is a valid concern, but I will again point to the fact that he's going to be making under $8 million a year and probably still should be a pretty productive player in that time going forward. So while I don't think that we'll ever see him go out there and get 100 points in a season or anything like that, I do think that he's going to be a positive asset for the Rangers, and that's really what it's about right now, especially too, with them being competitive, they are able to again keep a younger player with them through the winning phase that they've got right now going for them and have him be a leader in the coming years. Him and Adam Fox, I think especially, could play a big role in the future for the Rangers. So you just got that going for you. You got the whole narrative of, oh, he's a top pick, staying in a big market with an Original Six franchise that is extremely historic, playing on a team that is winning, and then also he's possibly going to be a huge factor in that, looking what we saw last year in the playoffs. Those are all great things for that sports narrative, that hockey narrative, and I know for the fan base they have to be really excited about this. And of course too, they were probably worried at some point, are they going to have an issue like him and Kaapo Kakko, where Kakko is underproduced at times But then again, I was looking at Kako's stats today and I was like, he's having a good year too, compared to what we've seen from him. So maybe things can all go really well for New York in the coming years. Some of these guys kind of step up. And again, I think they've got more than enough to be able to help out in the coming years as these other players get older. It's more about, especially with the Breadman, how things will go once maybe he takes a step back. But again, I'd say that this is a positive, and if you are a Rangers fan, buy that Lafreniere jersey and wear it with pride. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Alexis Lafreniere extension? Do you think that the Rangers should have gone out there and tried to do an 8-year deal? And do you think that he's going to be sticking with his team and be a lifer? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.